Hello once again, race fans. Welcome back to another episode of the NASCAR Show on the Grilling Truth, where legends speak. I'm Alex Gray, along here with Steve Risley. We have a lot to talk about. Brickyard 400, the playoffs are set, silly season. Before I begin, though, I do, as of right now, when we're recording this episode, it is September 11th. If you don't mind, I just want to bring up, obviously.
Please do.
Yeah, so 18 years ago was a very tragic day. America was pretty much under attack. Not just this country, but the entire world remembers 9/11, and I think it's something to never forget and to remind us of what happened. I think it's an historical time, of a time where I think a lot of people just dropped everything and came together. Of course, NASCAR's tying to 9/11, the first race right after. Dale Earnhardt Jr. won at Dover. So many people waving American flags. Obviously, Steve, you probably remember it so much better than I do. I was only 3 or 4 when it happened. But obviously I just want to say that we still remember those brave souls that we lost that day. Many innocent lives were taken. And please, if you can, take the time to remember those events and to never forget and appreciate what we have in this country.
Yeah, I agree. It's funny because I watched some of the shows last night on it and relived it again, but I vividly remember that whole day so clearly because I was in a suit and tie watching the end of the Today Show, getting ready to meet a sales rep. And I had a rep at the Indianapolis airport who was getting ready to fly into New York.
Oh, my God.
And she called me and said, well, they canceled, or my flight's delayed or booked. I said, well, just sit there and wait. They'll get it rescheduled. And, of course, that was only after the first plane had hit. And, they were billing it initially as a small commuter aircraft or a personal aircraft that hit the World Trade Center. The second plane hadn't hit yet. So I said, well, the girl that was my rep, she had to go to training in New York. I mean, just stay there, hang on. They'll get it figured out, get it rebooked, use your credit card if you got to buy another ticket or something, whatever you got to do, just take care of it, or use the corporate card. And, then all of a sudden the second plane hits, and then I'm like, uh-oh, this isn't good. Right. And I'm like I called her back and said, just go home. You're not going to New York right now. I tell you that right now. So just forget it. You go home. I remember vividly. First thing I did was I took our 2 propane tanks and went and filled them up because at this point you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
You know how much under attack we are. So we took both of our propane tanks, filled them both up, so we knew we'd have cooking gas or something in case the power got shut off or something. And I went to the bank and withdrew, I think, like $1,000, and just said we got to have cash because we don't know if the credit card machines are going to work. We know we're being terrorized right now. And then my wife went, and our son was in, I think, the 2nd grade, and she went and just sat with him and said, if I got to get him out of here, I'm getting him out of here. And then the rest of the day was just mesmerizing terror, just sitting there and watch it all unfold. So I vividly remember that day. It was a very, very difficult day. I think I cried more that day than I did since I've watched another dog dying movie. So
yeah, if I was much older, I'd feel the same way. Unfortunately, I've heard my mom and dad's perspective on it. I just don't remember much because I was such a little kid then.
Well, what was interesting was when they said all planes out of the air, and for some reason I had to go downtown for something, and downtown Indianapolis on the next day was like a ghost town. A lot of the businesses just shut down. They closed up. There were some open, but a lot of them were just shut down and closed up for the day out of remembrance or out of fear or whatever it was. 'Cause we had no idea what else was going to happen. But they pulled all the planes out of the air. And I watched the deal last night about Air Force One and how it became the only plane flying in the air over the United States on September 11th at one point in the day, along with some fighter jets patrolling the coast and trying to keep things going, but there was no commercial airlines flying. So I watched that on the History Channel last night, which I'd seen before. But, yeah, God bless everybody that was involved in that. It's a very sad, tragic day. And, you know, it still brings sadness to all of us. But, and I know NASCAR did some great things the next time they raced. You know, they did a lot to try and pump people back up and things as much as they could do. But it really, you know, you're never going to get over a situation like that. It's kind of our generation's Pearl Harbor. Basically is what it is. So, all right. Yeah. But great announcement, and that's well said and well spoken.
Thank you.
All righty. Let's talk about the Brickyard 400.
All right. So
I'm going to open up with this. I'm going to say I think I saw the first 2.5-mile short track racing I've ever seen in my life. These guys went at each other. I mean, they were bumping and grinding for stage points or playoff position. You know, just to get in position. Every time they passed somebody, it was another point, and they had to get the stage points. And I thought it was the best Brickyard I'd ever seen. What are your thoughts on the Brickyard 400?
Yeah, I thought this was a pretty solid race overall. Obviously, it was one of those where it was good, but it was dominated by Kevin Harvick. He had the strongest car all race long. Second time he wins the Brickyard 400. He won it all the way back in 2003. Yeah, overall, I mean, I thought we were going to get vibes of the 2017 race again. We remember how insane that race was. Yeah, overall, I thought it was a pretty decent race overall. I want to point this out, too. Okay, so Logano was second. Bubba Wallace, third. Career best finish in the 43. That is.
I was so rooting for him to win.
Oh, yeah, that really, really impressive run. He said all weekend that was the fastest car he had all season long, the greatest car they've had. And I think he remember, I can't remember the comment he made, but something like, I guess we can drive or something like that. So, I mean, I couldn't be more thrilled for him. I think that's a good motivation boost for him and that team, Richard Petty Motorsports.
Well, what I think it does is it ups the stock. I think it ups the stock big time. Because I still contend that I don't think he has the equipment to win at Petty. He's got the talent, and he showed his talent at the Brickyard 400. But I don't know that Petty can put the talent on the track anymore. You know, I just don't know. But he finished third, and I mean he was in contention, and I just kept hoping somehow something would happen to Harvick and get him up in there, and then you know. And give him a shot at this win, because that would have been monumental for me as a fan of his, and too for NASCAR. You know, so it would have been a great win. But he showed himself well. He did himself very proud, and he should be very happy about that.
Oh, certainly. Rest of the top 10: William Byron finishing strong in fourth, Clint Bowyer fifth, Denny Hamlin sixth, Ryan Blaney seventh, Ryan Newman eighth, Chase Elliott, Paul Menard rounding out the top 10. By the way, we're going to get to Paul Menard in a little bit. You may recognize
we'll talk about that.
But yeah. Unfortunately, for the first time in his career, Jimmy Johnson will miss the playoffs. He finished 35th.
Yeah.
He ran strong the entire race until he just got, he made an aggressive move and it didn't stick. Spun out, wrecked on the beginning of the stage.
And he took Kurt Busch out with him too, didn't he? I think he took Kurt Busch out with him too.
Let me see here. I'm not.
Did he? I thought he.
Well, yeah, he finished 30th. I think he. Let me.
Yeah, he took Kurt Busch out with him too, I believe, as I recall. I thought. But it's immaterial. I mean, it signaled the immediate end, and I was rooting for Jimmy to make it, just because it keeps the streak alive when you can do something like that.
I won't lie.
Keep the streak going.
When he wrecked, I literally went, no!
I know, I did too. Like, no! And he was running strong. He was in the top 10 all day until he wrecked, and then it just like, Jimmy.
And it really seems like in these past several races, Kurt Busch was in that too. He has ran good. He's ran strong, but crap luck. Things just keep happening to him, which is, the 96, nowhere to go on that one. But it just seems like, every good run he has, boom, something happens. And I think that's
something happens. He's in the wrong. He's had more season in the wrong place at the wrong time than probably any contending driver. He's just been in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah.
You know.
He was too far. Yeah, he was too far down.
But Hendrick did manage to put 3 of their cars in, correct?
Yeah. Elliott and
Bowman's in, Elliott's in, and Byron's in. So they got 3 of the 4 cars in. And I guess the question to ask you while we're on Jimmy Johnson, does he come back and race another year?
Oh, I think he will. I mean, when he was interviewed right after the wreck, class act, he could not have handled that so much better. He's basically talking about like, well, the first 25 races we had put us in this situation. And it's a real shame because I have nothing but respect for him. And Johnson has been performing better without the bad luck. If you're Jimmy Johnson, the mentality now is next 10 races, 2020 starts now. These 10 races, you got to try, run hard. Just because you're not in the playoff system, you can't win a race. So you're going to try and go out, win a race, and get prepared for 2020 and see if you can make a run. Now, of course, people may laugh at this, but I guess to put in the terminology, Joey Logano missed the playoffs in 2017. What happened the next year? He won the championship. I'm not saying Jimmy could do that, but there's a possibility Johnson could come back next year. We'll see. A lot of people believe he's regressed, and I believe so. I don't think Johnson can get number 8, but I certainly think he's got something left. I still think he can win. I know he can. 7-time champion.
Yeah, so let me ask you this question about Johnson. Was the divorce between Canals and Johnson, did it end up being a good thing? Or should they have just checked their egos at the door and said, we've won 7 of these things. We've made the playoffs every year. Let's just, figure it out on the track, and we don't have to have Christmas dinner together.
I mean, more so I think Canals is there because Byron is young. I do feel like he kind of got thrown into the Cup Series a little too soon, and perhaps this was a move where sometimes things have to change. And, I think Canals has done a terrific job developing Byron. Byron has had 10 times a better season than he had last season. Looking with Johnson, his first crew chief change in the middle of the season ever. And I think since that crew chief has taken over, I think things have been better. But obviously, again, he's just ran into whatever is possible that he could run into. So, that's just how I see it with Johnson. First 25 races, you wish that, the way he ran the first 25 races, he would be put in that situation.
Yeah, and I'll say this. I thought Goodyear did a good job this year with the tires. I know that they've always had trouble with tires in Indianapolis because what they do is Indianapolis is they do what's called a diamond cut and groove the track to get extra grip for the Indy cars. But they build, Firestone builds harder tires than NASCAR does. But I thought Goodyear did a great job. There wasn't that much blowout. There was a couple of hard hits from a blowout, but I remember the one year they were coming in and getting new tires every 6-7 laps because the diamond cut was just chewing the tires to pieces because Goodyear had brought the wrong compound in, and I thought they did a good job of that. But I'm familiar with that diamond cut. I've walked on that track before, and I mean it's edgy, it's sharp.
Yeah.
But they keep it that way. But then Firestone builds a specific tire just for Indy, and all the teams run that tire, and it's made to withstand the diamond cut. And Goodyear, I think they may have started to figure that out right now. Another question about the Brickyard. What are your thoughts on same-day qualifying, same-day racing? Because they qualified Sunday morning.
I don't mind that, actually.
I don't mind it at all either.
Yeah, it's a nice little one-day event. You qualify, you get it ready, you're out on the track, you race. I am completely fine with that. I wouldn't have a problem if like Kentucky, for instance, they run Saturday night, then that's the only time you have an event. So you could push Cup qualifying to like noon, and then you race at 7:30. That could be a good example of doing that.
Okay. I agree entirely. I actually like that. I mean, because I got up early and watched the F1 race in Monza, and then went right to the qualifying. And then by that time, they were ready to start the Brickyard. And then I had to DVR the Colts game because the Colts were playing the Chargers, so I got to actually see a Colts game once in a while.
Yeah.
So who else looks strong? Harvick looks strong, obviously. Busch is Busch running? Kyle Busch, is he running a little bit of kind of misfortune right now? I mean, he's kind of seeming not to, but there's a guy who can fix that in one race.
Yeah, I think that's something you could fix in one race. Kyle Busch is definitely going to be a hot driver to look out for, as always. You know, he had the blown motor at Indy. I still believe Kurt's going to surprise people as well. I actually wrote down predictions I have for the playoffs and who I think is going to get eliminated, who I think gets to the championship 4, if you'd like to hear it.
Well, you want to do it right now, or you want to?
I can do it right now if you want.
Yeah, let me do this. Hang on real quick here.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, I got it up. All right, I just pulled up the playoff grid, so I've got it now too. Well, before we get there, I thought, Elliott got a lap down because of the wreck. I mean, these guys, I understand that Indy's got a narrow pit wall, or it's narrow pit. It's built for smaller cars. It's not built for these big, wide NASCARs. It's built for smaller Indy cars. So, and there was right on the beginning, the first pit stop, Elliott got turned around and got bumped. A couple other cars got turned around and bumped. There was a lot of congestion on pit road. Elliott got a lap down, but he worked himself back in. He was running mostly in the 20s, 24th, 25th all week, or all race, I'm sorry. And then he comes back and ends up in the top 10 and makes a strong showing based on where he started, because he didn't qualify well either. So I thought that was good. Hamlin looked solid. You got to give a lot of kudos to Ryan Newman and to Clint Boyer. I mean, they were racing for their playoff lives.
Yeah,
and there was a fair amount of carnage on the track Sunday, just because of the way they were racing. I mean, between the heat racing and the fact that there were 4 or 5 cars going for the playoffs, there was carnage out there, and they both kept their noses clean, stayed clear, and ran themselves in. And we'll talk about that a little bit more on silly season when we get there for those guys. But all right. So you want to move into the playoffs then?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's go. What do you got?
Yeah. Okay, so first off, here are all the 16 drivers that are in the playoff field. You got Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex Jr., Kevin Harvick, defending champ Joey Logano, Brett Keselowski, Chase Elliott, Kurt Busch, Alex Bowman, and Eric Jones. Those 10 got in with wins. And, of course, out of that mix, you already have I'll get that in a second. Kyle Larson, Ryan Blaney, William Byron, Eric Almirola, Clint Boyer, Ryan Newman. So all 4 Gibbs cars are in. You got 3 Hendrick cars. You have 3 Stewart-Haas cars. You got all 3 Penske cars. You got both Ganassi cars. And then you got the Roush Fenway car. Ryan Newman did the 6. He's done a terrific job trying to get Roush Fenway racing back up and running. So there's your 16 drivers. I'm going to go ahead and make my predictions for who gets eliminated after each round and who makes the championship 4, and then I'll end with who I think will win this year's Cup championship. So, eliminated after the round of 16, based on how I've seen things this year, Clint Boyer, Ryan Newman, Eric Almirola, and Kyle Larson, just because I think Larson, he's had some good runs, but he just hasn't been there, and I do fear that, once again, luck will kind of swing his way in the wrong direction and cause Larson to be eliminated. Eliminated after the round of 12, and I think it's going to be a really tight race here. I got Bowman, Byron, Blaney, and Jones being eliminated after the round of 12. And in the round of 8, here's what I have. So these 8 drivers, Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex Jr., Kevin Harvick, Joey Logano, Brett Keselowski, Chase Elliott, Kurt Busch. And then I posted this on Twitter, so I kept it this way. My championship 4, Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, Brett Keselowski, Kurt Busch. And I think it'll come down to Kyle versus Denny, and I predict that Denny Hamlin will finally get his first Cup championship.
Okay, that's fair. I haven't picked my playoff grid yet, so I can't really. I mean, I like yours. I like yours a lot, but I think you're fairly accurate on it. I think one of the drivers I would change in the first time is I think Bowman's been struggling a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Jones, he got to win. I get it, but he really hasn't. There's another driver. I think having seasons and veterans here and these guys makes a big difference in these playoffs. So I think Almirola's in trouble in the first round, and I think Blaney's in trouble.
Oh, yeah.
Would be the first four I'd say would be out, in the first four. Beyond that, I haven't gotten that far yet in looking at the picks and trying to digest it all and kind of go through and see.
Mm-hmm. Who you got?
Go ahead.
Who you got for champion?
Well, tell you what, I know. Another one who's been struggling a lot lately too is Truex. I mean, he really hasn't been a factor in the last 4 or 5 races.
Yeah, he hasn't. He hasn't been quite fair.
Yeah.
But yeah, you didn't make a fair point, and you never know.
Yeah, I mean, so the problem with this is that I mean, you've got to go to Las Vegas, which is a very fast track, so you're going to need speed. It's a 1.5 mile track, correct? It's a 1.5 mile high bank track, so they're going to put a lot of speed on that track. It's a very fast track. Then you're going to go to Richmond, which is a short track, so you need a short track driver. And then you're going to go to the Roval in Charlotte, which you want a road course driver. You just got to look at drivers that favor that right there. I mean, speed-wise, Hamlin's run strong. Kyle Busch has run strong. Harvick hasn't put up a lot of speed, I didn't think, until this race. But really, this was what I call a really fast track. Indy's not really what I would call a fast track. Keselowski's always dangerous. The Hendrick cars are going to struggle probably in Vegas because they haven't found the speed yet. Then you go to the short track, and then you got the guys that are willing to bump and run. Kyle Busch is as strong as that as anybody. Harvick will do it. Logano will bump and run you. Keselowski will bump and run you. Elliott's too nice. Kurt Busch will bump and run you. But the thing about it is, one wreck, and if you get that far behind, if you go to Vegas and you get caught up in a wreck, you're so far points behind, it's almost impossible to catch up because of the playoff points that have been assigned to everybody. It's very difficult. But I think it comes down to Kyle Busch, Hamlin, and Harvick, and you can throw anybody else in there. I'm going to pick Elliott just because he's my driver, but I don't think he'll make it to the round of 4. But in the end, if it came down to Kyle Busch and Hamlin, I would go with Kyle Busch. I just think he's a little meaner. They don't call him Rowdy for nothing.
Oh yeah, and he's probably due for a second championship now.
Yeah, I mean he's worked his way to that point to where he's probably due for another one. Yeah, exactly. And so, but that's an early prediction. I'm gonna print off this form. I'm gonna fill it all out, and when we do our next show. When we get down to the round, well, we won't even be in the round of 12, so but after the next show, then I'll release mine and see where I think. But I agree with you wholeheartedly. But I think Bowyer's in trouble. I just don't see him. He's not one of those guys that just seems like Johnson seems to get caught up in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah.
But they're fun. The playoffs are fun. I mean, it's gut wrenching. And if you make a mistake, it's very, very, very costly because you're pretty much done.
Certainly, anything can happen.
You can't wreck out. I mean, you've got to keep your car running the entire race and score points, and you got to score high points. So, and then the other thing is you're dealing with still 16 cars in the championship, and the rest of them are still racing you too.
Yep.
And Johnson said, hey, our mission now is to go out and win races. So he's not going to back off out of anybody's way. I mean, he's going to go out and try and win races. So are a lot of other guys. I thought Larson had been running strong. I thought he'd been running fairly strong lately, but for some reason, the Ganassi cars just can't seem to finish a race for one reason or another.
Yeah,
either they wreck or the cars just kind of peter out on the last few laps and they can't finish. So I don't know why that is. Blaney had early success. Byron and Bowman are young, and they're going to get bumped out and bumped away, most likely, unless one of them can catch a win. And it is still the rule, though. If you get a win, you automatically advance to the next round, right?
Yeah, that is right.
So, yeah.
You never know. William Byron can win in Las Vegas, and he gets to the next round.
Yeah, it's very hard to predict, especially on the round of 16. When you start getting down a little bit more, you get down to the skilled drivers. But I think you got to look at Busch, Hamlin, and Harvick right now as the three hottest drivers on the track, and you can throw anybody else in there with them. Keselowski's strong, but he got wrecked hard in Indianapolis. Elliott's had a good, steady season, but I don't know that he's got the car to stay up with those guys, although he's a good road course driver. He's won 2 road course races back-to-back, and we're going to the Roval. So that's a great opportunity for him to win. And I know last year, I think he won 2 races last year, didn't he, in the early stages? Yeah, I think he did, yeah.
Yeah, Elliott ended up getting like a couple late wins in the playoffs.
He had 2 late wins in the playoffs, which automatically advanced him. But then when he couldn't win anymore. But you got 3 unique tracks. You got a super speedway 1.5 miles. You got a short track, and now you've got a road course. So it's going to take somebody who can do it all, and I don't know that anybody's out there better than Kyle Busch who can do that. I mean, he's won on just about everything.
Oh, certainly.
Yeah. Okay, you want to talk a little bit about Xfinity and Truck? What's going on there? I leave that up to you to recap what's going on in Xfinity and Truck.
All right. So, we got the Xfinity playoffs. That's been set too. 12 drivers are running for that championship. You got Tyler Reddick, Christopher Bell, Cole Custer, who have pretty much been the big 3 of the Xfinity Series this year. You got Justin Allgaier, Austin Cindric, Chase Briscoe, Noah Gragson, Michael Annett, Justin Haley, Brandon Jones, John Hunter Nemechek, and Ryan Sieg. Those are going to be the 12 drivers that run for the Xfinity title. Kyle Busch won the Xfinity race at Indianapolis, and I guess that was kind of expected. All right, so I just want to bring that real quick. Okay, so if I had a championship for the Xfinity Series, anything can happen, obviously, but I think it's pretty obvious that Reddick, Bell, and Custer, in which I expect all 3 of those guys to be in Cup next year, they're going to be running for they're going to be in the championship for. I just think they've been so dominant, and I think that's just going to keep going. I just think it's going to keep going with that. Hold on, let me check the schedule. I want to make sure that this is actually heading into the playoffs. But if I had a championship for, Xfinity actually has one more race before the playoffs. Then they do the playoffs in Richmond. God, I'm stupid. Anyway, okay, so I'll still predict my championship for regardless. Reddick, Bell, Custer, and this guy, he's been running pretty strong as of late. I'm going to say Chase Briscoe. I think Chase Briscoe somehow sneaks into the championship 4. And then when it comes down to Homestead, I know that Reddick and Custer run really well at Homestead. But Bell, he'll be there too. It's really, you can go either way with those 3. And, of course, don't count out Chase Briscoe. He's been running pretty consistent as of recent. So, yeah, I got Reddick, Bell, Custer, and Briscoe. And to pick to win the championship, though, I'm going to go a little left field. I'm going to go with Cole Custer. He runs really well at Homestead. I think Cole Custer will win the championship. So that's who I got on the Xfinity side. So once again, one more race before the playoffs. They got to run to Vegas, and then they start at Richmond. My apologies.
There you go. Yeah, and what's the situation in the trucks? Have they started the playoffs yet there in the trucks?
Yeah, they're actually the next race should be an elimination race.
Okay,
so they're that real quick.
They're on plane with the Cup boys.
Yep, they're going to be racing at Vegas. So The first one was at Bristol. Brett Moffitt won that. Brett Moffitt also won at Canadian Tire. So he's pretty much good to go. Let me see if I can pull up the playoffs real quick for the Truck Series. All right, so, yeah, you got Moffitt. He's in right now. Right now, I think the two drivers that are sitting on elimination are Tyler Ankrum and Johnny Sauter. The 8 drivers running in that, you got Brett Moffitt, Ross Chastain, Stuart Friesen, Matt Crafton, Austin Hill, Brendan Finger, Johnny Sauter, Tyler Ankrum. I also listed them in current standings order. Obviously, Ross Chastain trying to make a huge run here with this small team. He decided later on to run for the truck title. Here he is in the playoffs. I still have him as my truck champion, or at least he gets the championship for. If I were to pick a championship for the trucks, I'm going to go with Moffitt and Chastain for certainty. I think Matt Crafton will find a way to sneak in, and I'm going to say Grant Enfinger, just because he's kind of always been there. He's always kind of showed up when he needs to be. He always gets in a victory lane when he needs to, and I think he scored. I think he won at Phoenix late in the season last year. I could see him doing it again. Of course, the first race to open up the second round, the round of 6 for the Truck Series, is Talladega, and we know how hectic that truck race will be. So, of course, my sleeper is still Tyler Ankrum, but he's got some work to do at Las Vegas if he wants to advance. So that's why I got on the Truck Series side.
Okay. All right. Good review. Let's go on to the fun part of the day. Silly season has begun.
Yeah, the dominoes are now falling.
Dominoes are now following. And I tell you what, and I'm going to ask you this question. We'll go through the drivers that are involved here. We've got some outcomes already for some of them, but some of the seats, and there's a lot of talent in Xfinity right now, but I'll tell you what, I think some of the seats that we thought were going to open up may not open up, and there may not be a hole.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have to take a look at that and see. Start off with, obviously we know Paul Menard is retiring at the end of this year, which opened up the Wood Brothers car. But that was filled immediately by Matt DiBenedetto. So there's already a change there.
Yeah, that one really surprised me. I thought Menard would at least maybe run another year or two. But yeah, that news came out yesterday that Matt DiBenedetto will take over the 21. That is a one-year deal. Paul Menard actually told the Wood Brothers to go after Matt, and that's the only driver they went after. Some other notes I saw from Jeff Gluck and Bob Pockrass. Eddie Wood said he felt Paul Menard, Greg Irwin were just starting to click, and so is a little sad it is ending after this year. He said that Paul also recommended Matt. Yep. Paul Menard says he's not done racing yet, but it just won't be 38 weeks a year.
Yeah.
And
he's got financial backing to do whatever he wants to do. I mean, his dad owns Menards. So his money's not going to be – he's going to cash cow to anybody that wants to – if somebody wants to – he wants to go race, somebody's going to field another car for him if they can.
Oh, yeah.
The 4-car teams can't do it, but – I mean, the Wood Brothers could obviously throw up another car. If Menard's going to say, we'll fund the car for this weekend. We'll pay all the bills.
Yeah.
Which he does.
Yeah, things have been decided probably in the next 60 to 90 days. The Wood Brothers said that there could be a possibility that they could run a second car for Menard every now and then, which somebody in a Discord chat said, they ran a number 121 car for Dan Gurney at road courses like 50 years ago. Because somebody asked, has WBR ever run 2 cars in its entire history? So
yeah, that was
it. See a second car. Seems like a rarity.
Yeah. Eric Jones re-signed, so there was some question early about him, but he re-signed, so he's locked back down.
Mm-hmm.
Christopher Bell's going to take over the 95 car for Levine Family Racing. Yep. Kurt Busch had a 1-year deal. How solid is he? Made the playoffs.
I think Kurt's most likely back in the 1 next year, especially due to his performance and obviously the big win at Kentucky. A lot of people suggested that could be where Ross Chastain goes. People have also there's been also a lot of suggestions that Ross Chastain will go to Colleague Racing in a second car next season in the Xfinity Series to drive the 10 car. There's been a lot of talks about that. Yeah, and of course the other one here is Cole Custer. Really, his plans haven't really been determined for next year. Some people suggest that Stewart-Haas Racing could form a technical alliance with the 32 team of Go Fast Racing for Custer to drive that car until possibly a ride opens up. And and also we got to talk about David Reagan retiring. That 38 is still open. And who goes there?
Well, you got Tyler Reddick, you got Chastain, you got Custer. They're all available, aren't they?
Yeah. Involving Reddick, he is most certainly going to Cup next year. The question is where. There's been so many rumors. One suggested that he would replace Daniel Hemrick in the 8. Hemrick would drive for a satellite team potentially. Some rumors even came out that Ty Dillon was going to retire and work into RCR management, but Ty Dillon...
Yeah, he immediately denied that, though.
Oh, yeah, he came out and said, nope, I plan on racing for many years. He's even said that he kind of wants to build something at Germain Racing. So I think Ty Dillon's pretty much kept put at 13. So, I don't, and maybe there's a possibility that RCR could go back to running 3 cars next season. It's just really hard to say. But I think most certainly...
Yeah, well, go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm interrupting. Go ahead.
No, you're good. Most certainly, Reddick, Bell, Custer, I still think they're all going to be in the Cup, and you're going to have a really good rookie class next year.
Did Boyer and Newman save their seats by both, clicking into the playoffs? I think Boyer probably more than Newman was on the hot seat probably a little bit, or we kind of get that feeling. Newman, you never know. But did they both, by making the playoffs, did they both kind of save their rides for next year?
I would say so. A lot of reports we're seeing anyway that Clint Boyer was expected to return. A lot of people now suggest that maybe Daniel Suarez gets the boot, but I hate to see him get the boot after 1 year. He's shown a lot of promise in that 41. Just one more year. I'd say one more. I think he could get into the playoffs next year. He came up very, very, very close this year. And there's so much competition. So I wouldn't give up on Suarez. I'd give him one more in the 41. And then with Newman, I think he's signed through next year at least. So
he's back.
Yeah, I think Newman is in that 6 until he decides to retire, which is probably a year between 1 and 3 years down. Some people have also, when Tyler Reddick was discussed, I think Adam Stern brought it up, that Reddick had talked to Roush Fenway Racing as well. So that also could throw a wrench in the tanks and what Reddick could do there. So
and then is Almirola. Almirola made the playoffs, but he's been kind of lackluster, really. He made the playoffs, so you got to give him credit for that. Mm-hmm. But he's been kind of lackluster, and we both know Tony Stewart's a guy that just kind of wakes up in the morning and says, I'm making a change. And you got a lot of young talent sitting out there looking for a seat. Does he stay with Almirola for another year?
I think so, and plus the Smithfield sponsorship, I don't think Almirola is going to go anywhere right now. I think he's pretty much good to go in the 10 for a while. Okay.
Anybody else that we've not mentioned so far? This is only the first week of silly season. There's already this many names popping up, so it's going to change. We'll be talking about this every week until the next 10 weeks.
Oh, yeah. If I were to guess who exactly could go where in the Cup, I could see Corey LaJoie going to the 38, which means that the 32 team could potentially do that. If Stewart-Haas decides not to give Boyer or Suarez the boot, then that could be where Custer goes as the 32 car. And then maybe Custer moves into one of the Stewart-Haas cars, and then Chase Briscoe goes to the 32 in a year or two. So that's where my mind is in terms of who could go where in the Cup Series.
I see Boyer in the booth as soon as he retires. He's tailor-made for television. So, okay. Well, let's get to the end of this thing here, and let's go with a preview of Las Vegas. What do you got for Las Vegas?
All right. So it's the opening race of the Cup playoffs. Last year, Brad Keselowski won this race. I think this race will set the mood for who can make a run in the playoffs of Las Vegas. And to be honest, I could actually see a Penske driver winning this race between just it seems like Penske always runs really well. If I were to pick some early favorites, Keselowski, Logano, because I think Logano won there back in the spring. And I'd throw Blaney in there, sure, and Harvick. I just mentioned all Fords. And then, of course, the Busch brothers because they're home track favorites. But then again, we discussed that like early on in the show when we first started that. Is there really such a thing as home track advantage? So if I were to make a clear pick to win this race, I'm going to go with Brad Keselowski. As for a dark horse, you know what? I'll throw in this dark horse. William Byron. Since I brought it up earlier, I think a win is coming for him very soon. Whether it's this year or next year, a win is coming.
Yeah. Well, I think this is a speed track, as I recall. It's a high banked 1.5-mile track, and there's a lot of speed involved in this race. So I'm looking at fast cars, and I'm looking at JGR.
Oh, yeah.
We've put fast cars on the track all season long. I mean, they just put very fast cars, and Hamlin's on a hot streak. And, Kyle Busch, you're not going to drag him down forever. The guy's too good of a racer to keep him down. So, my picks this week would be Hamlin to win this. And then the dark horse would be, I hate to say I can't say Chase Elliott because I just don't think he's going to compete in this track. And this is the one he'll turn out and win, watch. But I think Kyle Busch would be not even really a dark horse. I think it's, I would say those two. I would say Harvick would be my dark horse because he's just a smart driver. But I like Hamlin in this race. If he can get out front and qualify well, and like I said, JGR knows how to put speed in their cars.
Oh, yeah.
And when you can do that on a track like this, then it all changes next week when you go to a short track. And we'll have completely different drivers that we're going to pick just because, it's going to be a completely different style of racing. Then you go to a road course. And then you got a guy like Chase Elliott who's done well in road courses. Harvick runs well in the road courses. Logano runs well in the road courses. Kyle Busch runs well in the road courses. Kurt Busch runs well in the road courses. So it's going to be interesting first three races. So I think the key right now is just to stay out of trouble, but I like Hamlin Sunday.
Oh, certainly.
I'm going to write that down.
All righty.
Anything else we need to talk about?
So Thursday, September 12th, tomorrow, in select theaters nationwide, about 900 of them, so you might want to look up and see if it's in a theater near you, is going to be the showing of a new documentary called Blink of an Eye, talking about Michael Waltrip's point of view from the 2001 Daytona 500 and his relationship with Dale Earnhardt. Really looking forward to that. Me and Michael are actually planning to go see it tomorrow. So
it's only on one day, isn't it? It's only in the theaters one day.
Yeah, it's only in theaters one day. So get your tickets. And
I'll wait for the second day and catch it wherever they're going to put it on. It's probably going to be on iTunes or something like that.
Oh, yeah, it'll probably air on something like Fox Sports 1 or something like that.
Yeah. But, yeah, no, I've heard it's a pretty powerful documentary. So I've heard him promoting and talking about it a lot as I watch Fox NASCAR and NBC NASCAR shows in the afternoon, or tape them and watch them late at night. Actually, is what I do. Only because I think Shannon Spake is hot. So But I'm married, happily married, so it doesn't matter anyway. But, yeah, no, that is coming out. That's a one-day event. So if you're interested in going seeing it, go see it. Other than that, anything else?
Let's see here. I think that is about everything that we need to report for today's show.
Man, we did this in under an hour. Can you believe that? That's a first for us.
Yeah, that's another rare moment right there.
There you go. Why don't you wrap it up and get us out of here, and we'll get this posted.
Okay. I can do that. All right. Guys, thank you so much for listening to this weekly episode of the NASCAR Show on the Grilling Truth, where legends speak. We'll see you guys once again next week to discuss Las Vegas. See you guys next time. We're signing off.